It's Monday. Is anger sabotaging your life? Well, I've got 5 ways to use anger to your advantage. The topic of anger came to mind after skimming the news and the sound bites of yelling and fighting and arguing from politicians to Karens, which I will tell you now, I don't appreciate that name. And the thing is, these are videos that get the most views. It seems like everybody is drawn to an ugly fight. Gosh, maybe I shouldn't have started this way. All right, well, I'm going to start all over and welcome you to the Karen Smith Frazier podcast. My name is Karen Smith Frazier, and I help folks who have a heart for service go from feeling taken advantage of, maybe burnt out and afraid of going for their own goals. I help them to feel fulfilled and motivated to go for their goals and to not feel guilty about it. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? All right, I'm just trying to check in here to see if I can eventually be able to see some comments this week. Well, welcome everybody. I'm just going to share a little bit of my story, and then we'll jump right into the topic, which is anger sabotaging your life? My last job, I was a school nurse, and I really got a lot out of that job. I enjoyed helping people. I enjoyed troubleshooting. I enjoyed helping people find resources, but I also felt frustrated and sometimes angry that I couldn't do more, that there were certain systems in place that I could not get around. I had to work inside the box. And so I know that I was not reaching some people who needed my help. So long story short, this frustration came to a head, but I was still reluctant to make a decision, to make a change. So that kind of happened for me. I got in a car accident, a bump on my head, concussion, forced me to take some time off. And during that time, I decided that I would invest in myself, that I would explore and do some professional development and explore ways that I could help people in a different way. And I landed on life coaching. So I am a life coach, and I am really enjoying walking alongside people who are ready to really look at themselves and their authentic selves, like take off all the layers, all the things that we've been pretending to do, pretending to be in order to please others. And I'm helping folks to really discover what they want to do with their lives and to dream again. And that has really been a joy. So I'm glad you're here today. Welcome to podcast number 42. All right. So now, in light of the various violent occurrences in the last few days in the US and around the world, one thing I'm constantly observing is, and not trying to be pulled into, but it's hard, right? When we turn on the TV or social media, it's hard to get pulled in. But one thing I'm noticing is how angry folks are on whatever side, and they're so angry that there's no communication happening. There are few resolutions. Nobody is willing to give something to bring peace. And this has always been a bit frustrating. Well, I mean, what is anger? Anger is normal, of course, normal, high energy emotion, characterized by feelings of displeasure, hostility, frustration in response to a perceived threat, harm, injustice, or violation, whether real or imagined. Anger is influenced by individual circumstances, emotional makeup, social factors, and past experiences. So, of course, your life experience will often frame what triggers your anger, what gets you upset, and uh, your level of empathy for those who are angry about something. Now, in today's podcast, I want to help you increase your awareness of your own anger. When you feel it rising up, when you start feeling heated, literally heated, and to actually question yourself about it. Why is this thing bothering me? What is that person saying or doing that's getting me mad? It's getting me angry. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Strong Island. I appreciate you being here. Now, is anger sabotaging your life? Now, I often hear about the negative sides of anger, but what if it's actually sabotaging our dreams and daily lives in ways we don't even notice? When unchecked, anger can strangle our potential and keep us from living abundantly. That's why learning how to release anger and why, how it's important to learn how to release anger and why that's critical is it's the first step toward genuine progress. So, at first, I'm going to talk about disadvantages of anger. All right. So, first, one disadvantage of anger is cognitive impairment. In other words, your brain is not working well. It doesn't pick up clues. It's not working efficiently. You may make some decisions you won't regret later. And it's one of those things where, in the midst of an argument, sometimes we're just literally not thinking. We're not thinking of the consequences of our words or our actions. I remember when, growing up in a big family, with siblings, we'd often get into arguments, very rarely fistfights or anything. But I do remember this one line that would come up, but he made me mad. And I remember my parents would remind us that nobody could make us mad enough to take an action that was not the best choice. In other words, we have choices. We have choices of what to do when our emotions are elevated and we're pissed off. All right. So the second disadvantage is a distorted perception. Anger can distort one's perception of a situation, making it hard to see the bigger picture or consider contextual information. In other words, when we get angry at a person, we can start to generalize whole population. Those people, they do that. And that is just not true. So sometimes it really narrows our perception and making it a false story, a false narrative. Now, granted, a lot of times when we are in situations, we know that, our own life experiences are our own life experiences. And if they have been overwhelmingly negative, with a certain with engaging with a certain population or certain situations, then yeah, we'll automatically start thinking a certain way. But then again, that's why I want you to become aware of why you feel that way. Why am I frustrated? Why am I angry? All right. Another one is that anger can lead to negative health impacts. Now, in addition to stressing out your body physically, high blood pressure, um, muscles tightness, shortness of breath, even. It can also cause, physical. It can cause physical issues and mental health issues. Long ranging stress can be part of PTSD. And it's not just the trauma that many of us think about, but anger in and of itself. When we hold on to anger, it's like we're reliving that certain circumstance over and over again. And that is not healthy for us. And finally, one of the disadvantages is that it impairs empathy. Now, empathy is that ability for us to kind of walk in somebody's shoes, to kind of imagine what somebody else might be going through in a situation. And Being angry about a situation does not have to mean that we have to dislike a person, but we definitely may dislike what they have done or what they're doing. Anger can diminish empathy and thoughtfulness, making it harder to connect with or understand somebody. So again, have you ever wondered why is that person so angry? There's one person that I have in mind, that a beautiful woman, very talented, but every time I see her, she looks so angry. And I often wonder, like, what has happened in her life that her disposition, her first outside disposition is one of anger. And so it really makes me want to pray for her. And I hope that, pray that she's able to release whatever has bound her in that anger. Now, but can anger be used for good? Well, I dare say, yes, it can. And before I jump into there, I want to check and see who's tuned in. Thank you for tuning in, Tony Smith from DC. I appreciate you being here. Now, on the other hand, anger can motivate positive actions, promote social justice, and signal that a wrong needs correcting. Anger can be a useful tool to express feelings and achieve goals when managed constructively. Now, I've got a few ways that anger can can work to our advantage. One, we can channel it into motivation for change. Now, a lot of situations we don't have a lot of control over, and I think part of that makes me a little bit more frustrated, a little bit more angry. So I need to be very intentional with how I can use that anger to work for good. How do I stand up for people who are being abused? How do I step in and maybe block some of the abuse, not use my position to advocate for others. So that's one way we can use it as a channel of motivation. Another way anger can be used is to treat it as a signal. Then there's a reason that people get angry about certain things. Now, if you get angry, there's got to be a reason. And if you notice a pattern that there's certain things that happen, are these things that can be avoided? Do you need to be in that situation? And if not, then why are you staying in that situation? So it may give you clues that maybe it's time to make a move. Maybe it's time to distance yourself from people who are not bringing light in your life. And maybe it's a situation where you may not be safe, that you can't express yourself, and you're not, you don't, it's not a safe environment for you. Okay. Number 3, enhance your focus. Anger can enhance your focus. In moments of frustration, pause and ask yourself, what do I really want here? Anger can actually enhance your sense of control and determination if you consciously direct it toward constructive answers. Now, people push your buttons. People will push your buttons. And what I love is that when people try to push my buttons and I don't have a reaction, I don't give the reaction that they want, ooh, then that gets them angry. But I'm taking back my control. I mean, just like my mom and dad used to tell me, nobody can make you so mad that you're going to react a certain way. So I love that situation where I can just notice that they're pushing my buttons or trying to, and then taking back my control and saying, really, a lot of times I'll just smile, and then they look ridiculous because what they said or did didn't bother me. All right. Number 4, let's see, resolve. It can resolve conflicts constructively. When expressed thoughtfully, anger can help resolve underlying issues, foster emotional intimacy, and lead to healthier, more honest relationships in the long run. Now, I see this play out in relationships, in loving relationships, where two people love each other, and sometimes they press each other's buttons, and sometimes they get each other upset. And if we're not able to honestly say what angers and frustrates us to our love, the love of our lives, that says something else too. So it's it's very helpful to have someone in your life, friends, loved ones, that are able to accept all of you, even those moments when you are angry at them, that they are able to own what they did that made you angry, that got you upset, and maybe, they love you enough to maybe change some of the things they're doing. And also, I would have to own up to those things that kind of contribute to. So it really can increase, anger can increase communication, especially in loving relationships. And finally, anger can be used as a negotiating tool, not a weapon. It can be used as a weapon, but I'm saying let's use it as a negotiation tool. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes showing, let's say, I'm going to call it righteous anger, helps others recognize the seriousness of an issue. Sometimes we need to get angry to show that this is not all right. It's not like I'm going to harm you or anything else, but my voice is going to be raised. I'm going to raise the issue. It's going to make you uncomfortable because something isn't quite right and somebody needs to say something about it. And here I am saying it. Now, we got to be careful not to cross the line into bullying, because this often turns into, unfortunately, bullying and threats. And that is unfortunately what we see a lot of in the media lately. So I would just say, let's be aware of our anger and, aware of what's triggering us. So letting go of anger for greater peace, I think, is what I am encouraging you to do. Remember, when we let the emotional energy of anger take control, we miss the blessings right in front of our faces. Sometimes the things that delay or block us, like a traffic jam or, a booking mishap for a flight, turns out to protect us from unseen harm. So some things that anger us, really, is it worth getting angry about? What about being open to the possibility that, there's something good that can come out of it? Anger is draining and it takes a lot of energy and rarely brings true peace. So I invite you this week to reflect on your response to anger and ask yourself, am I letting anger sabotage my life? Or am I using it as a tool for positive change? With awareness and intention, we can move beyond mere survival and choose peace, even if it means, quote unquote, losing a battle here and there. Sometimes you can let people think they won by just not reacting and, jumping on the anger train. Now I'm going to take a minute. All right. Thanks for your comments today. Let's see. Yes, Tony, you got a good point. Jackie Robinson used anger to his advantage and for advancing mankind as well. That is true. Yes, Sonia, exercising stop and pause truly works. It can keep us out of trouble. Yeah. And Tony, Family Feud is more than a game and in need of constant monitoring, communication, and reconciliation when necessary. That is true. Very true. Thanks for your comments. All right. Let me see if I can see any on Instagram. And I can't at this time. But all right. Well, I really appreciate you tuning in today. Thank you for listening to the Karen Smith Frazier podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please share it, especially in this climate where it's so easy to get angry about stuff. I mean, there are reasons to be angry. I'm not telling you there's not. But I just, if you think somebody who's really getting sucked in to every little tidbit that's happening and may need some ideas on how to release some of that anger or to direct it in a more positive way, please share this podcast. And Just wanted to announce that I'm going to have a masterclass in October. Right now, the date is October 27th. Time to be announced. I will let you know soon. And in the meantime, I will encourage you, as I always do, to unleash your brilliance, uncover your light. The world is waiting for you. The world needs you. The world needs that light, and they need it to come from you. All right. Take care. Thanks for joining in.